Imagine a world thrown into chaos by the shocking revelation of a 2,000-year-old Bible that holds truths about humanity so staggering. It has been kept hidden for centuries. This ancient manuscript, concealed by the church and preserved by mere chance, has the power to rewrite everything we think we know. The Book of Enoch, forgotten for over a millennium, has resurfaced with stunning timing. In a remote region of Ethiopia just a few months ago, its significance to the human race was revealed. Why has this scripture reemerged now? What devastating secrets about our origins does it contain? Join us as we expose the hidden truths that the Catholic Church never wanted you to know. A lost history. Around the world, ancient texts challenge the traditional explanations offered by churches and scientists, and many now feel that our understanding of history doesn't align with the evidence we see. More people are starting to believe that the real story of humanity is very different from what we've been taught. One pivotal example is the Book of Enoch, a scripture once highly revered by the early church but later erased from the Bible due to its explosive content. Rediscovered in fragments in the 18th century, when science began to split from religious authority, this book has left a lasting imprint on Christianity. With its stories of fallen angels and giant beings known as the Nephilim, the Book of Enoch offers radical new insights that have shaken the Christian world to its core, revealing shocking truths about humanity. But how could such an important text, central to early Christianity, have been excluded from the official Bible? What made the church bury it, nearly erasing it from history? This question looms large as the Book of Enoch presents a chillingly different version of human history, one filled with predictions of world-ending cataclysms and divine judgment that are hard to ignore. These apocalyptic warnings force us to reckon with the possible consequences of our actions should they come true. Among its many controversial stories is the tale of the Nephilim, a fearsome race born from the union of fallen angels and human women. This revelation not only shatters traditional views of good and evil, but also unveils a cosmic hierarchy unlike anything taught by mainstream religions. The Book of Enoch is even rumored to contain forbidden knowledge and magical spells that, in the wrong hands, could lead to ruin. With hints of lost ancient technologies and mysterious truths, this text could forever change our understanding of the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. The Bible itself is far from straightforward or gentle. It's filled with violent and strange stories. So why, then, was the Book of Enoch removed? Who was Enoch? And why does his story spark so much fascination? Though mentioned across several religious traditions, Enoch's legacy remains shadowed by mystery, despite his pivotal role in biblical history. In both the Old Testament and the Jewish Tanakh, Enoch is described as the seventh generation from Adam, father of Methuselah, and great-grandfather of Noah. In Genesis, we read the cryptic line, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him away." This baffling statement has ignited endless speculation. What does it mean to walk with God? What happened when God took him? Many believe Enoch never died but was taken alive to heaven, a fate unlike any other mortal. In Jewish mysticism, particularly in Kabbalah, Enoch is said to have been transformed into the powerful Archangel Metatron, a being so favored by God that he became the envy of other angels. It's striking that someone with such a significant role in biblical history could have been deliberately sidelined by the church. Though Enoch is briefly mentioned in the New Testament, his full story was erased from Christian teachings, leaving his legacy diminished. In Islam, Enoch is known as Idris. The Quran praises him as a prophet, calling him righteous and trustworthy. Similar to the biblical account, Idris is believed to have been taken into heaven, highlighting his extraordinary status in the eyes of God. Other Islamic texts describe Idris as a sage who contributed to both science and scripture, further elevating his role as a pivotal figure. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was preserved by Ethiopian monks, while Western churches sought to bury it in obscurity. But when historians rediscovered this groundbreaking scripture in the 1700s, the world could no longer ignore its contents. The Ethiopian Christian Church, which follows ancient texts and traditions, played a key role in safeguarding this piece of history. By the 18th century, Enoch's writings began to resurface in Europe, slowly shaking the foundations of religious dogma as it passed through the hands of mystics, scholars, and researchers. Today, the writings of Enoch are viewed by many as the key to unlocking the true origins of humanity. God's profound love for Enoch, choosing him as his scribe, highlights the unique position this prophet held. It's believed that many early Christian scriptures, including the writings of Enoch, were preserved in East Africa, particularly in Abyssinia. The Ethiopian Church even claims to hold the original texts of the Ten Commandments within the Ark of the Covenant, further asserting that they maintain the most authentic scriptures of early Christianity. Stay tuned for more. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, one of the oldest Christian denominations in the world, traces its origins back to the 1st century AD. Christianity is said to have been introduced to Ethiopia by the Queen's eunuch treasurer, and it was established as the state religion in the 4th century by Reemergence, Ethiopia's first consecrated bishop. This church holds several unique books that aren't found in other Christian denominations and maintains traditions that have remained remarkably consistent since the early days of Christianity. Historians today often turn to Africa to uncover these untouched aspects of Christian history. For instance, the oldest version of the Book of Enoch is preserved in Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language. Translating Ge'ez is relatively straightforward for linguists, similar to translating Latin. Because of this, the versions of the Book of Enoch found in Europe today are believed to be genuine and unaltered. With Enoch's stories fresh in our minds, we'll explore how the Ethiopian Church preserves ancient wisdom and its perspectives on good and evil. Early Christian texts rediscovered. This church not only preserves unique texts like the Book of Enoch, but also ancient practices and rituals that closely resemble those of Christianity's earliest followers from nearly 2,000 years of Rome. Our current understanding of Christianity has become complex due to numerous translations and selective editing by church authorities over the centuries. In Ethiopia, the Book of Enoch is believed to shed light on the origins of evil and sin, portraying humans as beings capable of both great good and great evil, with only love and devotion to God guiding them toward righteousness. Ethiopian Orthodox scholars view these dynamics of good and evil as natural elements of the universe, with our role being to resist evil and strive for goodness. The Book of Enoch presents a world filled with spiritual visions and profound revelations about the ultimate destiny of the soul and the purpose of creation. Despite these deep insights, the Catholic Church often disregards the Book of Enoch, and even independent church scholars frequently dismiss it due to its unconventional descriptions of angels and the end times, which diverge significantly from mainstream Western Christian theology. Critics argue that the book's unusual content suggests it might have dubious origins. The history of the Bible is quite intriguing. In the centuries following Christ, many texts about Jesus' life, the teachings of the apostles, and other spiritual writings circulated among Christian communities. These texts were accepted to varying degrees. Key writings like the four Gospels, the Acts of the Apostles, and Paul's letters became central to church teachings. However, differing interpretations led to debates about which texts should be officially included in the Bible. As a result, defining a clear set of scriptures became crucial to avoid misleading teachings. Initially, the lists of approved scriptures were broad, but over time they became more restrictive. At the Councils of Hippo in 393 and Carthage in 397, the New Testament as we know it was formalized, with 27 books being recognized by all Christian communities. The criteria for inclusion were strict, focusing on apostolic origins and alignment with accepted beliefs, which led to the exclusion of texts that didn't meet these standards. But wait, there's more. Critics argue that the selection of biblical texts was based on shaping a specific narrative, sometimes more focused on control than on providing true spiritual freedom. Allegedly, thousands of texts, including lesser-known Gospels and early Christian writings, are hidden away in the Vatican archives, leading to questions about their exclusion from the Bible. In the mid-1940s, many scrolls with old Christian and Jewish texts were found in a cave by the Dead Sea. Some, like the Book of Enoch, offer a different perspective on early Christianity and Jesus' life. The term Apocrypha refers to texts related to Jesus' life, and the Old Testament events, written from around 1200 BC to the 2nd century AD. These texts were not included when the Bible was compiled and are not officially recognized as part of the canonical scriptures. Among the Apocrypha, there are variations of familiar stories from both the Old and New Testaments, but some texts present views that significantly diverge from mainstream teachings, especially those of the Catholic Church. They offer alternative perspectives on the Messiah and biblical events. When the Bible was first compiled in the 3rd century AD, no one who witnessed the events described was still alive. The canonization process, which is still in use today, was likely influenced by factors beyond just preserving an accurate historical record. From the start, there was an element of control and manipulation in shaping the Christian narrative. Today, researchers believe that due to numerous translations, the original meanings of these texts may have been altered multiple times. One of the most notable excluded writings is the Gospel of Thomas, discovered in 1945 at Nag Hammadi. This gospel is seen as a nearly complete account of Jesus' life, but it presents some events in a way that differs from the canonical Gospels. Although not recognized by mainstream church authorities, Thomas is considered one of the most authentic early writers. He depicts a relatable Jesus who simplifies his teachings to just 2 commandments: to speak and act sincerely. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus emphasizes compassion and kindness. The texts, dating from 60 to 250 AD, begin with the statement, "These are the hidden words that Jesus spoke, which Judas Thomas wrote down. Whoever understands the 114 verses of this scripture will overcome death and find the way to immortality." The Bishop of Alexandria was notably opposed to certain Gospels, including those of Thomas, Philip, and Truth. Instead of destroying them as he had been instructed, their supporters hid these texts away, preserving them for nearly 2,000 years. Additionally, Mary Magdalene and other women were not given much prominence in the early church. Women's roles were often minimized in the scriptures, biased views against women were included, and female apostles or disciples were overlooked. However, lesser-known writings reveal that Jesus had many women around him and had a significant connection with Mary Magdalene. While today's Bible depicts Mary Magdalene as a sinner, some texts suggest she was actually a close companion or even a partner of Jesus. The Gospel of Mary focuses more on the aftermath of Jesus' death rather than his personal life. The first Apocalypse of James, likely written in the 3rd century by followers of Valentinianism, contains alleged conversations between Jesus and his brother James, discussing hidden codes that could unlock heaven. Emperor Constantine was not fond of these ideas and had the Apocalypse officially banned in the 4th century. Nevertheless, this document also survived and was rediscovered in 1945 at Nag Hammadi. After exploring Ethiopia's special texts, we'll look into other forgotten writings and strange translations that reshape our understanding of the Bible. Giants in ancient lands and the books of Adam delve into the lives and challenges of Adam and Eve, particularly their encounters with Satan. These stories come in various languages and versions, offering insights into life after paradise from Adam and Eve's perspective, including mentions of the Nephilim, giants born from human women, also referenced in the official Bible, and Seth, their 3rd son. Enoch, one of the Old Testament's 7 patriarchs, is briefly mentioned in the Bible despite his unique role. He was directly related to Noah and Jesus, and notably, was taken to heaven alive by God because of his virtuous life. His significant book was excluded from the Bible, likely because the church wanted to keep the idea of ascending to heaven as a unique concept. Aristeas' letter discusses the initial translation of Moses' books into Greek and suggests that these early translations were fraught with errors, hinting that the Bible as we know it might differ significantly from its original form. The letter claims that these translations were completed in just 72 days, a timeline that many experts find difficult to believe. Despite this, the Catholic Church maintains the accuracy and legitimacy of these translations. The Solomon Islands, located east of Papua New Guinea, are renowned for their stunning natural beauty and coral reefs. There's a local belief that these islands were once inhabited by the Nephilim, giant beings said to have ruled the area around 1,000 years ago. The first Europeans, led by Alvaro de Mendana, arrived in 1568, attracted by the potential for great wealth, and named the islands after King Solomon, famed for his riches. Today, extensive mining operations have caused environmental problems, and locals warn about the risks of disturbing the ancient giants believed to have once lived there. There's more to the story. Anthropologist Marius Boyrolian, who married into the local culture of the Solomon Islands, has extensively studied the legends of giants of G Islands. In his 2010 book, he describes these giants as about 10 feet tall, with distinctive features and complex social structures. Boyrolian also recounts local tales of people being taken by a particularly fearsome giant, underscoring the strong local belief in their existence. The Solomon Islands, a rugged and remote paradise of dense jungles and secluded mountains, remain largely untouched by modern influence. They are considered a hidden world, and the giants are thought to still inhabit these secluded areas. One of the most striking tales from the islands involves a young girl named Mongo. She vanished as a child and reappeared 25 years later pregnant. Mongo revealed that she had lived as the wife of a giant and had a son who, due to his giant-like appearance, was tragically killed at the age of 5. This traumatic experience left Mongo deeply distressed for the rest of her life. Local lore suggests that some islanders know the location of her son's grave, but no one has attempted to unearth it, leaving the story shrouded in mystery. Ancient scriptures of the Old Testament briefly mention the Nephilim, describing them as the offspring of giants and human women. Their fathers are often depicted as fallen angels or, in some interpretations, extraterrestrial beings from the skies. The nature of the Nephilim varies across religious texts. In Christianity, they are sometimes seen as mighty heroes with immense strength. However, Jewish texts portray them as malevolent beings who brought violence and destruction to earth. Despite their human lineage, these giants are often depicted as embodiments of hate and aggression. In apocalyptic visions, particularly in the Book of Revelation, there is a prophecy about an army of 200 million strange beings that will unleash a catastrophic plague, destroying a third of the world's population. Some scholars believe this apocalyptic army is indirectly connected to the Nephilim, suggesting that these giants might play a role as harbingers of doom in the final days. The exclusion of the Book of Enoch from the Bible in the 3rd century was because church authorities believed it lacked divine inspiration, unlike the accepted Gospels, which were thought to be divinely guided. Enoch, an important biblical figure and great-grandfather of Noah, was said to have been so favored by God that he was taken to heaven alive, bypassing death. This ascension story challenges the unique divine status attributed to Jesus, potentially leading to Enoch's exclusion from the standard biblical canon. However, some Eastern Christian texts have preserved Enoch's writings, suggesting that spiritual practices might enable divine access within one's lifetime. This idea aligns with modern interpretations that view ascension tales as symbolic of spiritual enlightenment, a concept also reflected in Islamic teachings where Jesus is seen as a prophet who continued his teachings after surviving crucifixion. For those who are not familiar with symbolic interpretations, the Codex Seraphinianus might appear as one of the strangest books ever created, possibly the work of a fantastical imagination. Created by Italian artist Luigi Serafini in the 1980s, it features surreal illustrations that transform human forms in bizarre ways, and texts that seem meaningful but are undecipherable. The Codex doesn't aim to convey hidden truths, but explores the limits of imagination and artistic expression, challenging our perceptions of reality and the written word. From ancient manuscripts to enigmatic texts, we delve into the strange and magical books that have fascinated scholars and influenced spiritual beliefs. Enoch, the man turned angel, is a fascinating topic, especially when paired with the Soika book, also known as the Will of God. This medieval Latin manuscript captivated John Dee, a renowned scholar and advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. The Soika book is filled with mystical content, including spells, rituals, and intricate descriptions of celestial hierarchies. Dee devoted much of his life to decoding the book, enchanted by its complex blend of magic and spirituality. Despite his efforts, he never fully deciphered its contents. The book's disappearance and partial recovery in modern libraries highlight its profound impact and the esteemed status of its author. Written in flawless Latin, the manuscript hints at the involvement of a highly educated and possibly wealthy individual, continuing to capture the imagination of scholars and mystics with its enigmatic and rich content. Enoch, also known as Hanok in the early parts of the Old Testament, is a figure steeped in intriguing stories. His name likely comes from the Canaanite word Hanok, meaning witness or initiate, highlighting his important role. Although Enoch is only briefly mentioned in the Bible, he is notable for being taken to heaven by God without experiencing death, a rare and remarkable event. Enoch's family background is quite fascinating. He is a direct descendant of Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve, and an ancestor of Noah, and, through a longer lineage, of Jesus of Nazareth. Despite these impressive connections, Enoch is not widely discussed in major Christian texts, such as those of the Roman Catholic and Protestant churches. However, Jewish traditions and some Christian Slavic texts have dedicated entire books to this remarkable prophet. Around a century ago, a preserved Book of Enoch was discovered in the Qumran caves near the Dead Sea. This book delves deeper into Enoch's story, describing how God transformed him into an extraordinary being. This transformation suggests a divine closeness that Enoch shared with Jesus. This perspective challenges the traditional Christian view of Jesus as the unique Son of God who ascended to heaven. Enoch's story introduces the idea that he, too, received a special honor, questioning the notion that Jesus was the only one to experience such an event. In the book of Genesis, Enoch is also listed among 10 patriarchs known for their extraordinarily long lives. Enoch's life is indeed remarkable and filled with intriguing details. His father Jared was 162 years old when Enoch was born and lived for another 800 years. Enoch himself was 65 when his son Methuselah was born, who famously lived for over 900 years. Enoch then lived an additional 300 years, walking closely with God. At the age of 365, he was taken up to heaven alive, a rare event that sets him apart from other biblical figures. The term Enoch's ascension, often used in modern contexts such as funerals, originally held a much more profound and specific meaning in biblical terms. Unlike other patriarchs whose deaths are clearly described, Enoch is uniquely noted for being taken to himself by God, indicating a direct and special departure from life. In the New Testament, there's little mention of either Enoch's rise or his importance in the mainline churches, which is odd. His story grows even bigger in the Book of Enoch, where despite some resistance from other heavenly beings, he is promoted to the rank of an angel, specifically Metatron. This transformation from man to angel and his role as a sort of divine go-between is a special honor not widely recognized outside of Jewish tradition. Enoch's story raises big questions about why such an impressive tale hasn't been featured more prominently in the Bible. His progression from a man to a high-ranking angelic figure suggests layers of divine storytelling that challenge usual views and remain intriguingly underexplored in Christian teachings. The Book of Enoch is not just a narrative about Enoch, but delves into intense and dramatic themes, especially concerning the origins of evil. According to the book, a group of rebellious angels became disillusioned with their heavenly roles and descended to earth. They engaged in relationships with human women, leading to the birth of giants, immense beings who wreaked havoc across the world. What's particularly intriguing about this text is that it names these angels, specifying who was responsible for the various forms of chaos. Enoch emerges as a standout figure amidst this turmoil. He's depicted as a paragon of righteousness and wisdom, serving as the first prophet, who not only championed goodness but also undertook the monumental task of recording his revelations. According to the Book of Enoch, he authored an impressive 360 books, underscoring his role as a major spiritual figure and a key source of divine wisdom. Enoch's writings, which delve into celestial mechanics and the passage of time, were pivotal in ancient times. However, despite Enoch's esteemed reputation as a scribe, the texts attributed to him were likely composed by later writers, contributing to the ongoing mystery about their origins and the cultural contexts in which they were created. Shifting to other fascinating biblical elements, Leviathan from the Book of Job stands out as a truly mythical figure. This formidable beast, often depicted as a fire-breathing dragon, combines features of a crocodile, snake, and whale. Its breath is described as a dangerous mix of steam and fire, capable of wreaking havoc. The ambiguity surrounding whether Leviathan represents good or evil adds to its intrigue, as it remains a captivating symbol of power and mystery in biblical lore. In exploring these supernatural elements and apocalyptic visions, we encountered the rich tapestry of mythical creatures and dramatic stories that have captivated and terrified people throughout history. Stay tuned as we continue to unravel these enigmatic and awe-inspiring tales. Giants, ghosts, and strange tales. Absolutely, the locusts in the Bible, particularly in the Book of Revelation, are depicted in a way that transcends ordinary pests. These locusts are envisioned as monstrous hybrids with horse-like bodies, scorpion tails, and a terrifying appearance that symbolizes immense and destructive power. Their portrayal as instruments of divine wrath brings a sense of horror that matches their apocalyptic role, reflecting deep-seated fears of uncontrollable and catastrophic forces. The four horsemen of the apocalypse are similarly profound. Each horseman represents a distinct aspect of the end times conquest, war, famine, and death. Their appearance follows the opening of the seven seals, marking the commencement of global upheaval. These figures have resonated deeply across different eras, symbolizing universal anxieties about the end of the world and the suffering that might accompany it. Their symbolism became particularly poignant during the Middle Ages, a time plagued by disease, war, and famine, reflecting the real-world fears of those living through such crises. Together, these stories of locusts, horsemen, and other supernatural entities are more than just dramatic tales. They encapsulate profound human concerns about morality, justice, and the nature of existence. Through these vivid and often terrifying images, ancient texts explore the dualities of good and evil, order and chaos, providing a window into the anxieties and beliefs that have shaped human history and spirituality. All right, let's talk about the beast, a terrifying creature described in John's visions. Imagine something straight out of a fantasy movie. This beast looked a bit like a leopard, had the paws of a bear, and a mouth as scary as a lion's. To top it off, a dragon gave it a bunch of power, along with a throne and serious authority. One of its heads seemed to have been fatally injured, but somehow it healed up just fine. This beast, alongside another fearsome one, is supposed to show up at the end of the world, bringing all sorts of trouble to humanity. The first beast is super offensive and just downright nasty. It causes a lot of suffering and drags people into awful situations. The other one, representing a false prophet, isn't about outright destruction, but is more about slow, sneaky damage, leading people to their ruin without them even noticing it first. Both of these beasts are connected to the number 666 and the figure known as the Antichrist. These bad guys are part of a bigger, darker force that opposes everything good, and they're destined to bring a lot of pain and chaos. But according to Christian stories, there's hope, because Christ's love is supposed to be strong enough to save everyone in the end. The ultimate showdown has Christ beating these monsters and throwing them into a lake of fire, which saves the planet from their terror. Let's delve into the Nephilim from the Book of Genesis. These mysterious figures were the children of giants and human women. Originally, they were wild and chaotic, causing trouble everywhere they went. Over time, though, their image softened, and they were seen more like just really big, strong humans rather than troublemakers. Some legends even trace their roots back to Seth, Adam's third son. What's really interesting is that later stories link them to famous Greek heroes like Hercules and Achilles, suggesting they might have been their ancestors. And today, some people even wonder if the Nephilim were actually hybrids between humans and aliens, blending ancient myths with modern alien theories. Now let's talk about witches and magical women in biblical times. They weren't viewed favorably at all. The Book of Exodus is quite harsh, saying that magicians shouldn't be allowed to live, which led to many innocent people, like healers and herbalists, being persecuted during the Middle Ages because they were misunderstood or different. Leviticus takes it even further, declaring that those who practiced magic should be stoned to death, showing how unwelcome these practices were. There's also the story of Queen Jezebel, who was seen as an evil sorceress. She was accused of using her powers to manipulate people and influence wars, and ultimately she faced a severe punishment from the religious authorities of her time. Ghosts are mentioned a lot in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, where the world is full of supernatural beings like demons and angels. One well-known story is about King Saul, who was so desperate in his battle against enemies that he ended up calling up a spirit for help. In the New Testament, there's a twist where people think Jesus is a ghost when they see him walking on water. They were really scared until Jesus showed them he was real and not just a spirit. Now, let's dive into a wild story about Nebuchadnezzar I, the king of Babylon. He got too full of himself and had a terrifying dream. He asked the prophet Daniel for help, and Daniel told him he would have to live like a wild animal for 7 years to learn humility. In some tales, Nebuchadnezzar turns into a wolfman, showing how these stories mix human and animal traits to teach lessons about pride and divine power. Behemoth is another biblical creature. It's not considered evil but is incredibly powerful. Described as a giant plant eater that no one can defeat, it's often thought to be something like a rhino or hippo. Some people even believe Behemoth, along with another creature called Leviathan, were actually dinosaurs. This fits with a belief held by some Christian fundamentalists, who think humans and dinosaurs lived at the same time based on a view of the world being only a few thousand years old. In conclusion, the discovery of the 2,000-year-old Bible unveils shocking truths that challenge everything we've been taught about humanity's origins and future. With its hidden stories of fallen angels, Nephilim, and forbidden knowledge, this ancient text raises profound questions about the secrets that have been kept from us for centuries. As we delve into these revelations, we are compelled to rethink the traditional narratives and open our minds to a deeper understanding of our spiritual past. If you found this content enlightening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts on the hidden secrets of this 2,000-year-old Bible. Stay tuned for more explorations into forgotten histories and spiritual mysteries. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.